Deep inside the Amazon rainforest in Brazil, someone built a clay tower roughly 40 centimeters tall, sealed a latex condom over the top of it, and waited overnight, and that single strange experiment solved a biological mystery that had confused scientists for decades. If that sounds like the kind of thing we should be talking about more often, hit subscribe right now because we cover discoveries exactly like this every single day. To understand why any of this matters, we need to start with the creature behind these mysterious structures. There is an insect called Guialna chlorigina, more commonly known as the architect cicada, which was only officially described by science in 1996. It lives in the dense, complex habitat of the Brazilian Amazon, and it behaves differently from most cicadas we are familiar with. Most of us know cicadas from their loud summer sounds and their strange habit of emerging in broods separated by prime numbers, like every 13 or 17 years. But what apparently most people do not realize is that cicadas spend the overwhelming majority of their lives underground, in a larval form called a nymph, feeding quietly on the sap from tree roots beneath the soil. In the humid environment near the Brazilian city of Manaus, something unusual happens in the year before these nymphs are ready to transform into winged adults. Before they shed their old bodies and emerge, architect cicadas build tall, vertical towers made of clay, sometimes reaching heights of 40 centimeters or just over a foot. For many decades, nobody could agree on why they did this. The purpose of these structures was purely guesswork. What made it even more puzzling is that cicadas as a group are ancient insects, having existed even before the dinosaurs went extinct around 150 million years ago, and they are found on almost every part of the planet. Every other cicada species seems to manage just fine without building anything like this. The energy cost of constructing these towers is also significant, especially since the material used is clay mixed with the cicada's own urine. In evolutionary terms, it seemed to make no sense at all, and that mystery is exactly what a team of scientists from the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro set out to solve. The research team tested two main ideas. The first was the anti-predation hypothesis, which suggests the towers might protect the nymphs from being eaten. The second was the gas exchange hypothesis, which proposes the towers possibly help the nymphs breathe properly. When it comes to predators, the biggest threat in this particular rainforest seems to be legion ants, also called army ants. These ants do not build permanent nests. Instead, they travel in enormous swarms of over 2 million individuals, functioning almost like a single unified organism, hunting and consuming any insect or small creature they encounter. To test whether the towers offered protection, researchers placed baits made from sardines and flour at both the base of the towers and at the top. The results were surprisingly clear. Ants were approximately 8.5 times less likely to discover bait placed on top of a tower than bait placed on the ground. This means the towers apparently give the cicada a significant survival advantage during metamorphosis, which is the moment when it is most physically vulnerable. In most places around the world, cicadas complete their transformation on tree branches, but in this part of the Amazon, even the trees are not safe enough, so these insects seemingly evolved a different solution entirely. The second experiment is the one that involved condoms. To test the gas exchange idea, scientists needed to completely block airflow through the porous clay walls of the tower. In the middle of a remote rainforest, far from any laboratory, they used standard latex condoms. By slipping a condom over each tower and sealing the bottom with plastic film, they created an airtight barrier that prevented fresh air from reaching the nymph inside, likely causing a buildup of carbon dioxide and a drop in oxygen. The following day, researchers broke open the base of each sealed tower, leaving the upper portion intact, but exposing where the nymph had been resting in order to observe how the oxygen deprivation had affected them. Almost none of the nymphs died. What was more interesting was the pattern of their response. Nymphs living inside larger towers appeared to recover and rebuild more quickly than those in smaller ones, which suggests that bigger towers hold a greater volume of air, acting as a kind of buffer against stale air and allowing for better ventilation overall. The experiment also showed that these insects are apparently aware of the conditions around them and are capable of actively adjusting their behavior in response, rebuilding their towers faster when gas exchange was compromised. 40 condoms, one day, and a mystery that had lingered for decades was essentially answered. What makes this discovery particularly meaningful goes beyond just understanding one unusual insect. For cicada biology, the nymph stage has historically been one of the least studied phases of the life cycle, simply because it happens underground and is very difficult to observe in the wild. This research confirmed that cicadas are capable of genuinely complex behavior, constructing structures they actively maintain, repair, and apparently open and close in response to environmental changes. The towers seem to serve two confirmed purposes simultaneously, protecting the nymph from predators and regulating the air quality inside its underground chamber like a kind of ventilation system. Beyond their own survival, these cicadas also affect the forest itself. Their digging and building activity causes what scientists call bioturbation, meaning their movement through the soil significantly influences soil quality, which in turn indirectly supports tree growth and forest health. And the discoveries have not stopped at this one experiment. Separately, researchers have found that cicadas are possibly the smallest animals known to urinate in high-speed jets rather than droplets, a finding that engineers at Georgia Tech are now studying to design more efficient nozzles for robotics. Under a microscope, cicada wings reveal structures called nanopillars, tiny bowling pin-shaped projections about 100 nanometers tall, which mechanically rupture bacteria that land on them, killing microbes instantly without any chemicals. Scientists are now exploring how to recreate this surface in hospitals and medical settings to fight the rise of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. On a darker note, a fungus called Massospora cicadina apparently hijacks cicadas by producing a chemical cocktail that includes compounds similar to those found in psychedelic mushrooms and certain amphetamines, keeping infected cicadas hyperactive and seemingly hallucinating while their bodies are being consumed, causing them to spread the fungus to others before dying. Taken together, all of these findings paint a picture of an insect that we have vastly underestimated. Cicadas serve as a living bridge between underground root systems and surface ecosystems, and their biology is apparently offering blueprints for engineering, medicine, and material science. Sometimes the most important scientific answers come from the most unexpected methods, and this story is a good reminder of that. A piece of everyday latex, some sardine bait, and a lot of patience turned out to be enough to crack open something genuinely remarkable about the natural world.